Discomfort is the price of admission to a meaningful life. This is a quote by Susan David that Laurie Santos shared in her MOOC for teenagers. I need this quote on my wall so that every day I can be reminded that I did not choose the easy way out. I've been choosing a meaningful life, and with that comes hard work and discomfort. But also comes a feeling of fulfillment that I would not exchange for anything. Hello and welcome to the podcast Anxiety My Friend with me, Raquel Coelho. I lovingly create each episode as an educator for you, dear listener, and for myself too, because I believe in the power of learning and actioning what we learn to change ourselves and to change the world. I design these episodes as acts of hope and activism because I'm confident that if each one of us brings forth who we truly are in the world, the ripple effect can be massive. So please keep learning about what turns you on and what moves you so that the world can benefit more and more from your presence. At the same time, I feel pushed to mention my worry about the number of courses, coaching miracles, and workshops out there. Sadly, there are too many wishy-washy pseudo-health services that promise the world and beyond, but in no concrete terms. This means that people who are desperate will flock in and spend their life savings in the hope of being saved. Seeking a coach or a mentor and learning can be an excellent step in your development, whether it's at a personal or professional level, but the terms and expectations must be clear. Achieve all you want is not a clear goal. You deserve it all has no actionable steps. So be sure to ask about expectations, strategies, and clarity with terms and conditions. More importantly, be sure to take part in local meetings and events to lobby for better health, better education, better work conditions, and better lifestyles for everyone. We cannot be entirely focused on self-development while ignoring our surroundings and our communities. A healthy community will be in a better place to lend a hand when one is down. So here's to positive and actionable activism. With this, I bring you a new mini-series which focuses on psychedelic experiences. Notice that I said psychedelic experiences and not strictly psychedelic substances. I'll tell you about this choice in a moment, but first, let's get some definitions in. According to the website Mindbloom, the term psychedelic was originally coined by English psychiatrist Humphrey Osmond in a letter addressed to Aldous Huxley back in the 1950s. It's a combination of the Greek words psyche, mind, and delos, to reveal. This gives us the common definition of psychedelics as mind manifesting. Clinically, psychedelic refers to a class of compounds that reliably induce the state in individuals at certain dosages. I decided to explore more around the idea of psychedelic experiences rather than substances because I'm open to different ways of reaching mind-altered states. An example for those who love to run is running. I know people who say it's a mystical experience for them to run. As always, I'm learning as I create this episode, and especially in the realm of neuroscience, psychiatry, and psychedelics, so much research is taking off that I am absolutely sure I'm missing important pieces of this growing puzzle. But my intention is to learn and bring hope, to myself and to others. Today's episode is an introductory one, so let's go. Throughout this mini-series, you will hear from experts in mental health, and you will hear from practitioners on the ground who work with psychedelics. The year is 2024, and a lot is happening in this field. Some of it underground and dangerously unregulated, some of it above board and integrated into protocols and procedures recognized in the science and research community. Let me tell you that at the time of creating this mini-series, I personally have never tried any psychedelic substances. I have visited a clinic in Lisbon and did a consultation with a psychiatrist because I wanted to know more about how this might work. But for reasons I might explain later, I decided against doing the treatment for now. An experiment I recently fell in love with. See, this is why I'm not a researcher myself. I fall in love too easily. But an experiment I recently fell in love with is one in which Boris D. Heifets, an associate professor of anesthesiology at the Stanford University School of Medicine, did. He likes to look at 3 categories, and I will now quote from an article from Scientific American, all in the show notes. The quote goes, 1. The biochemical drug effect, which interacts with basic brain biology. So the biochemical drug effect, which interacts with basic brain biology. Chemicals interacting with receptors on cells. This happens whether or not you can feel the effect of the drug. Second, then there is the conscious experience related to changes in sensation and revelatory, hallucinatory, and ecstatic feelings. So I'll repeat that. The conscious experience related to changes in sensation and revelatory, hallucinatory, and ecstatic feelings. These experiences are closely tied to taking the drug, and usually we think of them as caused by the drug. But it is actually quite difficult to say whether a lasting change in mood or outlook was a result of the drug, a biochemical effect, or the trip itself, the experiential effect. And the third factor then is all of those aspects of the overall drug experience that are independent of the drug or trip, the non-drug factors, what psychologists and psychedelics advocate. Timothy Leary called the set and setting. How much does your state of mind and the setting in which you take the drug influence the outcome? So this category includes expectations about improvement in, say, your depression, expectations about the experience itself, the stress level in the environment. It would also include integration, making sense of these intense experiences afterward and integrating them into your life. So end of quote. And I'll actually just repeat this part about the third category. So the expectations that you have about improvement in your condition, let's say if it's depression, like in their example, or expectations about the experience itself, and also how it's integrated into your life. Super interestingly, his team used ketamine on patients who had a depression while under anesthesia. So, they basically used anesthetics to suppress the conscious experience of the associated psychological effects of ketamine, which many people think may be relevant and even crucial to the antidepressant effects. So interesting that the experience that people might have associated to the effects of ketamine can be crucial to the antidepressant effects. So in other words, there is the belief that the conscious experience had while you are on ketamine can be an important part of the antidepressant effect. So if you're on anesthetics, you won't have trips or remember them, so you won't have that experience. This was a failed trial, so to speak, because watch this. Surprisingly, both the placebo group, who received no ketamine, and the ketamine group got better. What? How did both the group who took a psychedelic and the group who didn't all improve? So almost 60% of the patients had their symptom load cut in half, reduced to half. And there was at least 30% remission from major depressive disorder. These were patients who had been sick for years. One thing that the study seems to show is that non-drug effects are important in the therapeutic effect. If you've been listening to this podcast since its inception in 2020, you will know that I am obsessed with this as a gut reaction to the enormous numbers of people who are on drugs, prescribed or not, legal or illegal, without any regard for changes in everyday life factors such as food, exercise, and social integration, things that we do every single day of our life. So in wondering why so many patients who did not get the psychedelic feel better, the team said that, and I quote, "We talked to them for hours. We heard about their histories. We got to know them. I think they felt seen and heard in a way that many patients don't going into surgery. I'm thinking about parallels with the preparation steps for psychedelic trials. Patients in both types of research are motivated to be in these studies. In our study, they were told that they were testing the therapeutic potential of a drug and that there was a 50-50 chance they might get it. And then there was the big event of actually having the surgery. In this case, it was similar to having a psychedelic trial, a big, stressful, life-impacting event." End of quote. Dr. Boris D. Heifets believes that having expectations of a particular outcome will drive an important therapeutic effect. In other words, our beliefs impact our lives. I don't want to oversimplify and overgeneralize, but one thing I'm taking from this personally is that it's important to visualize what we want for our lives, and even share that with others. If we sit in misery and think there is no hope, then no action muscles will engage for change. In line with this, something that has been very present in my life recently is a growing awareness that aching about what I cannot change only hurts me more. And I've been aching a lot for things that are fully out of my control. For reasons that are too personal to share here, I am highly sensitive to my surroundings and their needs, and I am an empath, which distracts me a lot from my own needs. In the interest of training my ability to refocus, and in a world that is hyper-stimulating and very distracting, I'm going to extract myself radically by doing a silent retreat. I am recording this just before going into a Vipassana retreat. For 12 days, I will have no phone. I will talk to no one. I will practice no exercise. I won't be allowed to journal or read. I won't be allowed to listen to music. What will I do? Well, I will get up at 4 a.m., meditate for about 10 hours each day. I'll be fed breakfast and lunch, and I'll go to bed at 9:30. You can guess that if I have a podcast, I love to talk. And so often I find my thoughts shaping as I speak words and share them with friends. So to stay silent for 10 days straight will be absolutely fascinating. So I said 12 because there's a day 0, which is the day in which you arrive, and then there are 10 full days of meditation, and a final day where you're helping to clean up and so on. Because it's all voluntary based and donation based. Anyhow, to stay silent for 10 days will be absolutely fascinating. Or simply impossible. I'm sharing this here without knowing if I will actually be able to do the Vipassana retreat, and if, while I am there, I decide that it really is not for me. In that case, I'll get up and leave. Of course, if that happens, I'll be sad that I filled a spot that someone else could have taken. So I'm definitely going to give it a good try. And out with the segue about me, let's get back to the Scientific American article I was talking about. I'll share a lovely quote about the improvement seen in people who were part of the trial and did not get the psychedelic. Instead, they got the placebo. Quote, "It became obvious that people had powerful experiences. Most people don't spontaneously improve from years of depression. After surgery, they get worse. That's what the data show. And the fact that we are able to make this degree of a positive impact after hours and hours of interpersonal contact and messaging, that's important." This was a really clear demonstration to me that non-drug factors, such as expectations and feelings of hope, contribute to a substantial portion of the effects we've seen. And you would be foolish to disregard these components in designing a therapy. And the truth is that most clinicians make use of these techniques every day in building a rapport with patients, leveraging this placebo response. End of quote. So, while this article might be trying to send messages to physicians and psychologists, I want to make some notes for myself as a lifelong learner and hope that you too take something from this, and if nothing else, do two things. Try to be a better listener so that when someone shares something with you, you ask them to tell you more, instead of jumping in with your opinion before you actually allow them to share enough. And the other is that you too seek to share your aches and frustrations with a select few people in your life, while pulling yourself out of the victim seat, so that you can visualize the life you believe you want. So that you can live the life you believe in. With that, I say goodbye while I go on my Vipassana retreat. After that episode, I will take a couple of months to organize all the fabulous voices and recordings I have so far about psychedelic experiences. Until then, big bunny hugs your way. I love you. Thank you for listening to the podcast Anxiety My Friend with me, Raquel Coelho.